Oh, hi, lovies. Just me. How are we? Happy Monday. I am literally
We're going to start in just a minute or
technological.
two. We still have some people joining.
Josh is here. We're in the room with Josh. This is a big deal. I need everybody. Let's calm our tits and listen to Mr. Levy. Big doings out of the Worcester Mass State Police, Worcester Police Department, and we are in a Zoom with him.
Okay, why don't we get going? Good evening, everyone. My name is Joshua Levy. I'm the United States Attorney for the District of Massachusetts. And I am here with several members of the investigative team in the Worcester Police matter, who will introduce themselves in a moment. Before we get started, I think we have one reminder from our communications team. Christina Sterling, are you on? Do you want to share something about recording of this meeting?
Oh, I can't cover him.
Maybe she's not on. Okay, but I think that what I know there's some members of the media here, which is great, and we appreciate the interest. We're going to ask that no one record this meeting tonight. It's obviously here for you to listen, but we're asking folks not to record. So today, as many of you know, all of you know, the Department of Justice announced the conclusion of our investigation into the Worcester Police Department and the City of Worcester.
How do I turn this off?
And we issued a public report that details our conclusions about the police department and the city's violations of federal law. During tonight's presentation, we're going to give you an overview both of how we conducted the investigation and then walk you through the main takeaways from our findings. That report is now online and available. It's lengthy. I encourage you to read it when you have some time. We're going to also distribute the link to people who have joined us tonight, so you can pull it up yourselves, print it if you need to. And before we get to the findings of the investigation, let me just provide some background about how we conduct these investigations. The team that worked on this investigation included both members of the office I had the privilege of leading in the District of Massachusetts, career attorneys and investigators, joined with
Josh Levy,
prosecutors and support staff and investigators from the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division in Washington, D.C. It was a joint investigation. And these career employees have worked across multiple administrations, and we work closely with subject matter experts on policing who have extensive experience both in policing and community relationships, including a former police chief and a statistician who's worked extensively in the criminal justice system. In conducting our investigation, we reviewed extensive evidence from a number of different sources. That included interviews with Worcester Police commanders and supervisors, interviews with Worcester County prosecutors, people with experience who suffered from police use of force, social service providers, community organizations, and advocates. We also spoke to city officials about their role in the accountability process. In addition to conducting interviews, we reviewed extensive documentation provided to us by the city. That included hundreds of incident files over the years, video when it was available, thousands of documents, including policies, training manuals, police reports, and internal affairs files. Finally, our team conducted statistical analysis of nearly 6 years worth of Worcester Police Department data covering the period January 2017 through November of 2022. And lastly, but equally important, we spent a lot of time in the Worcester community. In total, our team spoke to about 150 different community members and local organizations, including many residents who experienced misconduct by the Worcester Police. We talked to local leaders and advocates, faith leaders, and researchers. We also participated in some live and virtual community meetings. And we thank you all for sharing with us in those various forums. We also learned a tremendous amount from the officers we spoke to and from the community members who we met with. Your contributions at the community level were invaluable to our investigation. Without your stories, without your insight, without your perspective and your time, we would not have gotten to the point where we reached today in announcing these findings. We acknowledge that a lot of you have been deeply involved and impacted in these issues related to public safety and police accountability. and we are grateful for your participation in our investigation. So thank you for welcoming us into your community and working with us in our efforts to promote police accountability.
Thank
I'm going
you.
to turn it over now to the Deputy United States Attorney, Mary Moraine, who will provide you an overview of the findings that are contained in this report.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Josh. My name is Mary Moraine, and I'm the Deputy U.S. Attorney for the U.S. Attorney's Office in the District of Massachusetts. Before I jump into the findings, I wanted to provide a little additional context about this investigation. This was a civil pattern or practice investigation, and that is different and separate from criminal investigations. This investigation was not examining the behavior of any one particular officer or looking at potential criminal penalties, but instead was looking at the department as a whole. So turning to the results of our investigation, as we announced via press release this afternoon, the Justice Department has concluded that there was reasonable cause to believe that the Worcester Police Department engages in a pattern or practice of conduct that violates the Constitution. The Worcester Police Department, we found and put in our report, did this in two ways. First, the Worcester Police Department uses excessive force, including by unreasonably using tasers, using police dogs to bite people, and striking people in the head. Officers escalate minor incidents by using more force than necessary, including during encounters with people who have behavioral health disabilities or who are in crisis. Second, the Worcester Police Department violates the constitutional rights of women who are suspected of being involved in the commercial sex trade by engaging in sexual contact during undercover operations. This is the first time we have reached a pattern or practice finding of this kind. These findings are not based on any one incident or event. Instead, our findings are based on long-standing problems in policy, training, supervision, and accountability. The pattern or practice of unlawful conduct that we found compromises Worcester's ability to provide public safety services safely, constitutionally, and effectively. As we say in the report, most of Worcester's law enforcement officers work hard every day to advance public safety, and we commend those officers, those many officers who dedicate their professional lives to serving the community. It is challenging and very important work. That said, we issued this report because the patterns or practices of unconstitutional conduct that we found are serious and result in real harm, and the systemic issues that lead to that unconstitutional conduct need to be addressed. Hopefully that overview provides helpful context for our findings report and the work we did in this investigation. In a few moments, I'll turn it over to some of the other members of our team to provide more detail. But before I do, I also want to mention something that is at the very end of our report: recommended remedial measures. The problems we found are solvable, and that part of the report outlines solutions to some of the issues that you will hear about in a moment. These recommendations are just the starting point. DOJ is committed to working collaboratively with the city and the Worcester Police Department to address and remedy the harms our investigation identified. To ensure that those remedial measures are as powerful and effective as they can be, we need to hear from you. In the coming weeks, we'll be reaching out to officers and community members to hear your thoughts about the kind of police department you want for your city. Write to us, call us, let us know your thoughts. We're relying on the diverse communities of this vibrant city to stay engaged and to work with us to create a safer, more just Worcester. And Michelle Young, who you'll hear from next, will give you that phone number and email address in just a moment. So in addition to Michelle, you'll hear from some other members of our team about the findings of our investigation. We'll go through each area of the investigation and summarize what we found. We'll start with our findings regarding excessive force. And now I'll turn things over to my colleague, Michelle Young, who is an assistant United States attorney in the U.S. Attorney's Office in Massachusetts. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you,
Hi,
Mary.
everyone. As Mary indicated, I am going to tell you the email address and phone number where you could reach us.
Babes, take this
Here's that
down.
something's happening with my
If
video.
you're local.
Um,
Even if you're not
Mahal,
local.
are you able to see me?
I'm not.
Strange. All right. Well, but in the interest of time, I'm going to still share the email address and the phone number before I move on. The email address where you can reach us, and we'll put this in an email to you following this meeting, is community.wpd@usdoj.gov. Or you can also reach us by phone at 617-275-8756. I'm going to try one more time.
You're on
We
camera
even
now.
tested this and everything. Okay, great. I just opened up the laptop functionality. So as Mary said, I'm going to talk to you all about the first finding, which is about how Worcester Police use force. The Department of Justice has reasonable cause to believe that the Worcester Police Department has engaged in a pattern or practice of excessive force in violation of the Fourth Amendment. First, I'll explain a bit about the investigative process. Worcester police officers reported using force during over 500 unique incidents from January 1, 2018 through November 30th, 2022. The team reviewed a random
500
sample of hundreds of these
incidences, babes.
incidents with the assistance of experts on police practices. We also looked at use of force incidents referred by community members. For each incident, we reviewed officers' police reports and narratives where they described those incidents in their own words. We reviewed photos of injuries, cell phone video, body-worn camera footage for the period of time when Worcester Police had a body-worn camera program, and any associated internal affairs investigations. We also reviewed Worcester Police Department's policies, training materials related to force. Finally, we also interviewed Worcester Police commanders, supervisors, and people who experience police uses of force. Based on this evidence, we determined that the Worcester Police Department engages in pattern or practice of using excessive force. We saw several different types of problematic uses of force. We saw unreasonable uses of tasers as a use of force. During the review period we investigated, officers most often reported using tasers in what is called drive stun mode, which is when an officer presses the taser directly against someone's body and triggers an electrical pulse that causes pain, but does not necessarily incapacitate someone. Many of these incidents involved officers using tasers to unreasonably gain compliance from people who were not following commands, but who did not pose a threat and were not actively resisting the police. Worcester police dogs bite people and inflict harm disproportionate to the threat posed. While bites by police dogs are not very common, we found that when they do bite, they can be problematic. For example, we found that police dogs have bitten people who are not resisting, not suspected of a violent crime, and do not pose a threat to others. We also reviewed incidents where WPD officers unreasonably struck people in the head with open and closed hands. These kinds of head strikes can be very dangerous for both the individual and the officer. The investigation also uncovered incidents where officers escalated minor encounters by using unreasonable force, including when interacting with people with behavioral health disabilities who were in crisis. In some of these incidents, we saw officers rapidly resort to using force when the incident involved only minor crimes or only behavior that was symptomatic of a behavioral health disability. This pattern of practice can be attributed in part to WPD's inadequate supervision of officers and their uses of force. Sometimes supervisors sign off on use of force reports without identifying the clear problems on the face of the reports. And in some incidents, the officers' written reports differed from available video footage, but supervisors did not reconcile those accounts. I will now turn it over to Nicole Porter to discuss the findings regarding sexual misconduct.
Thank you, Michelle. Again, my name is Nicole Porter, and I'm a trial attorney with the Special Litigation Section of DOJ Civil Rights Division in DC. Our second finding is that the Worcester Police Department engages in outrageous government conduct that violates the constitutional rights of women suspected of being involved in the commercial sex trade by engaging in sexual contact during undercover operations. In making this finding, we reviewed a wide array of documentation from the Worcester Police Department. We looked at arrest databases and all Worcester Police Department arrest reports, citations, and incident reports related to officers' decision to investigate sex-related crimes from 2018 through 2023. We also interviewed people inside and outside of the Worcester Police Department, including members of the Worcester Police Department's Vice Unit, which investigates sex and drug-related offenses, social services providers, community organizations, and advocates who serve women who have been trafficked or forced into the sex trade. Finally, we spoke with women who detailed their own experiences with officers' sexual misconduct. Sharing information about sexual misconduct is not easy. Many victims never report their experiences to law enforcement. And many of the women we interviewed faced added barriers to reporting, from housing instability and substance use disorders to past involvement with the criminal legal system. Nonetheless, many women participated in the investigation and shared their firsthand experiences of being exploited by Worcester Police Department officers. These women had nothing to gain by sharing their experiences with us. On the contrary, some of the women feared retaliation, but spoke with us anyway. We are grateful to them for coming forward and trusting us with their experiences. This is what their experiences and all of the other evidence we reviewed led us to conclude. Worcester Police Department officers engage in unnecessary sexual contact during official investigations. This finding was based on multiple officers' own arrest report narratives over a number of years that included references to sexual contact during prostitution stings. Buying and selling sex is illegal under Massachusetts law, and Worcester Police Department officers are authorized to enforce those laws. But sexual contact is not necessary to enforce the law. Nothing more than a verbal agreement or offer to engage in sexual acts for a fee is necessary to arrest someone. The Worcester County District Attorney's Office also has not prosecuted those arrested for selling sex since 2018. As such, there is no legitimate governmental basis for any sexual contact by Worcester Police Department officers, and doing so rises to the level of outrageous government conduct and violates women's rights. And Worcester Police Department supervisors did not address this egregious behavior by officers. In addition to the two findings that we have reached, we also have serious concerns that officers have engaged in other sexual misconduct. These are not constitutional violations, but concerns that we have identified as a result of our investigation. Based on credible reports, we have serious concerns that some Worcester Police Department officers have sexually assaulted women under threat of arrest, broken the laws they are charged with enforcing by paying for sex, and engaged in inappropriate sexual relationships with women involved in the sex trade. This illegal and egregious misconduct traumatizes victims and shatters trust in law enforcement. We heard credible reports that a small number of WPD officers have targeted and sexually assaulted women under threat of arrest. Officers have preyed upon vulnerable women, sometimes repeatedly. We also heard credible reports that some Worcester Police Department officers have engaged in inappropriate but supposedly consensual sexual encounters with women who had been engaged in prostitution, including paying women for sex. These supposedly consensual encounters may not rise to the same level as sexual assault, but they still destroy trust in law enforcement and play upon a problematic power imbalance. The Worcester Police Department does not have the policies, supervisory mechanisms, or accountability systems in place to appropriately investigate these allegations. Indeed, the Worcester Police Department had received complaints alleging sexual misconduct and did not engage in appropriate investigations. The police department also needs policies and training regarding separate, concurrent internal administration and criminal investigations to investigate officer sexual misconduct, and potentially should involve an outside agency to ensure impartiality. To be clear, the vast majority of Worcester police officers serve honorably and are not engaged in the sexual misconduct described in our report. However, we did find a pattern or practice of misconduct within the department as it relates to officers engaging in sexual contact while undercover with women suspected of being involved in the sex trade. These findings are deeply troubling and seriously undermine trust in the law enforcement officers that Worcester residents expect to protect them. These findings also raise questions about how the police department investigates reports of sexual assault in the community, which I also know. Our investigation raised serious concerns about whether Worcester Police Department officers adequately investigate sexual assault reports by non-police officers. To assess the Worcester Police Department's investigation of sexual assaults, we reviewed dozens of randomly selected sexual assault investigations completed by Sexual Assault Unit, or SAU, investigators from January 2018 to March 2023. We also reviewed Worcester Police Department training related to sexual assault and sexual assault investigations. We did not review any operating guidelines, as the department has no policies on how to conduct sexual assault investigations. We did interview prosecutors from the Worcester County District Attorney's Office. We found that many sexual assault investigations were flawed. SAU detectives inappropriately closed cases rather than conduct thorough investigations. SAU detectives also closed some cases solely because they could not reach victims, even though they could have pursued other actionable lines of investigation. These deficiencies undermine public confidence in the police department's ability to appropriately investigate sexual misconduct in the community and by its officers. Appropriately investigating sexual assaults is a matter of public safety. Failing to adequately investigate reports diminishes the police department's legitimacy in the eyes of the community. And when the community lacks faith in the police, victims are more reluctant to report sexual assaults, increasing the risk that perpetrators, including officers who have committed sexual assaults, will escape accountability and continue to cause harm. I'll now turn it over to Greg Dorchak to discuss our concerns with the police department's data collection and potentially discriminatory policing.
Thank you, Nicole. My name is Greg Dorchak, and I'm an assistant United States attorney in the Civil Rights Unit in the U.S. Attorney's Office. Before I go into this section, I want to remind you that recording of this meeting is prohibited. Nicole covered two areas of concern that we identified in our findings. I'll discuss the final area of concern. Selective enforcement of the law based on race or ethnicity is deeply concerning and violates the Constitution and federal law. In the course of our investigation, we found that Hispanic and Black individuals in Worcester are more likely than their white counterparts to be the subject of law enforcement activity. Black and Hispanic individuals in Worcester are more likely than their white counterparts to be the subject of a traffic stop that ends with an arrest or written warning, citation, or a criminal complaint. We analyzed more than 38,000 traffic stops documented by officers from January 1st, 2017 through November 14th, 2022. Currently, Worcester does not have a policy requiring officers to document all stops, nor does it track the reason for a stop. And Worcester also almost never documents whether a search was conducted. Nonetheless, the disparities we discovered are concerning. To eliminate race-neutral factors that might explain the racial disparities, we controlled for variables, such as the date and time that the encounters took place, the age and gender of the people involved, the car type, and the type of violations. We found that after controlling for these factors, there were still significant differences. And Black and Hispanic people experienced more punitive outcomes. For instance, Hispanic drivers were 80.5% more likely to be arrested than white drivers. And Black drivers were 62.2% more likely to be arrested than white drivers. Also, Hispanic drivers were 65.7% more likely to be issued a criminal complaint during a traffic stop than white drivers, while Black drivers were 36% more likely to be issued a criminal complaint. Black and Hispanic individuals are also more likely to be arrested for minor misdemeanors. We analyzed 3,000 misdemeanor arrests from 2017 to 2022 for minor offenses, including disorderly conduct, disturbing the peace, resisting arrest, trespass, and possession of an open container of alcohol. We looked only at misdemeanor arrest where there was not an accompanying felony charge. Arrests for low-level crimes like these are highly discretionary, but can have lasting consequences. The analysis showed that Black individuals are at least 2 times more likely to be arrested for minor offenses than white individuals, while Hispanic individuals are between 1.84 and 2.04 times more likely to be arrested than white individuals. Additionally, Black and Hispanic individuals are more likely to be the subject of a use of force. For example, Black and Hispanic individuals were the subject of 79% of all police dog bites. And based on a review of incidents, Hispanic and Black people also experienced unreasonable force disproportionately given their share of the population. Finally, similar disparities exist for Black and Hispanic youth. Black and Hispanic youth are disproportionately arrested for disorderly conduct and trespass relative to their population. The largest disparity among youth of different races is seen in charges for resisting arrest. 59% of youth charged with resisting arrest were Hispanic and 41% were Black, Worcester did not arrest any white youth for this charge. Although police departments commonly assess their enforcement data to evaluate whether officers treat people differently due in part to race, Worcester's failure to track and analyze crucial data prevents it from understanding what contributes to these year-long racial disparities in its enforcement data, and also delays it from working to address those disparities. Critically, Worcester does not assess the age, race, and gender of the people it stops, and it does not track demographic data in its use of force reporting. To its credit, Worcester commissioned its own race equity audit, which identified similar issues. These deficiencies in data collection practices limited our ability to have a complete analysis, and we do not at this time find that these disparities reflect unlawful discrimination by Worcester in violation of the Constitution or federal law. However, the data plainly show a disproportionate effect on people of color. As such, we have serious concerns that Worcester may be engaging in racially discriminatory law enforcement practices. We urge Worcester to improve its data collection and to ensure it provides fair and impartial policing services to all Worcester residents. I will now turn it back to discuss the issues we saw with supervision and accountability.
Thank you, Greg. In addition to the violations and areas of concerns that my colleagues have described, we've identified several causes that contribute to the constitutional violations. I will provide an overview of the issues we found with Worcester's accountability and supervision systems. Our investigation uncovered several deficiencies in the Worcester Police Department's accountability and supervision systems. The police department's intake process may discourage filing of complaints. The intake process does not make clear that anonymous complaints are permitted. Additionally, the police department runs criminal background checks on all complainants, regardless of their reason for filing the complaint. This practice opens the door to possible bias or retaliation by the officer or investigator. Police department supervisors, not internal affairs investigators, investigate some serious complaints, including complaints of excessive force. Given their familiarity with the officer in their day-to-day role in providing support to officers, an officer supervisor investigating those complaints can give rise to bias. Indeed, we saw that in some supervisors' investigations, they failed to try to reach complainants, inappropriately credited officers' reports over complainants' allegations without interviewing officers, conducted faulty analysis, and neglected to document important evidence. Investigations completed by internal affairs investigators are also deficient. We identified instances where investigators did not speak to material witnesses and reach unsupported conclusions. When officers do engage in misconduct, the police department rarely disciplines them. The police department also has critical gaps in its policies and trainings. For instance, the police department lacks policies prohibiting sexual contact by officers, setting forth limits on undercover work, or laying out how to investigate officer sexual misconduct or conduct a sexual assault investigation. The police department's policy manual lacks guidance about how to engage with individuals in behavioral crisis, including how to de-escalate and use trained officers. Nor does the police department maintain policies on how to conduct stops or requiring officers to document stops in field interviews. The police department does not adequately supervise its officers. For example, Worcester police supervisors do not closely and effectively supervise officers when they use force. This is in part because supervisors haven't always had the tools to supervise officers effectively. During the period we reviewed, supervisors lacked access to body-worn camera footage and other important information. Even when problems were clear on the face of officers' reports, however, supervisors still did not address those problems. The police department also fails to collect sufficient data about stops, particularly those that do not result in warnings, citations, criminal complaints, or arrest. Nor does the police department track the searches that result from those stops. WPD has, at times, failed to hold its own supervisors accountable for misconduct. In some high-profile instances, WP supervisors only face consequences for misconduct after it hit the press, even though the police department knew about the misconduct before then. The police department has taken some steps to address these inadequacies, such as creating a policy review committee to assess its policies. But it needs to implement more robust changes to ensure that it has proper systems in place to protect against future violations. Before we close out, I'll ask Michelle to talk about the remedies we recommend in our findings.
Thanks, Nicole. As you've heard from my colleagues, our investigation revealed significant problems at the Worcester Police Department. But as mentioned earlier, also, these problems are solvable. Our offices have extensive experience working with law enforcement agencies to reform their practices, and we know that's possible here. The findings report concludes with a section outlining remedial measures to address each of the issues discussed today. I'll take this opportunity to highlight some of the measures we urge the city and Worcester Police to implement, and you can find more information about these measures outlined at the end of the findings report. We also encourage you to contact us with your own ideas about how to address these issues. First, regarding the use of force, urge and the police department improve use of force policies, training, reporting systems, review mechanisms, and data collection and assessment to better supervise uses of force. Second, regarding officer sexual misconduct, we urge the city and Worcester PD to create policies that clearly prohibit Worcester police employees from engaging in on or off-duty sexual misconduct, including engaging in sexual contact of any kind for law enforcement purposes. We also urge the city and Worcester Police to enact measures that will result in better investigations of officer sexual misconduct and closer supervision of officers who enforce those laws related to the buying and selling of sex. Third, regarding sexual assault investigations, we urge the city and WPD to develop policies, trainings, and procedures for patrol, officers, internal affairs detectives, and sexual assault unit detectives that focus on trauma-informed investigations. Fourth, regarding race disparities, we urge Worcester and the police department to ensure that public safety data collection allows for analysis of racial disparities. This will allow the department to understand the cause for any disparities and implement changes to its policies, training, tactics, or enforcement strategies to address those disparities. We also urge the department to make this data and analysis public. Fifth, regarding accountability and supervision, we urge the city and Worcester Police to adopt accountability measures that will ensure that civilian complaints are investigated appropriately and that serious incidents of misconduct, including uses of force, are investigated by BOPS, the Bureau of Professional Standards, the Internal Affairs Unit, instead of by supervisors. These measures that I briefly outlined and that are detailed in the report provide a rough framework for the remedies that the city and the Worcester Police Department need to make to rebuild community trust, improve public safety, and follow the Constitution and federal law. We look forward to working with the city and the Worcester Police Department on negotiating a binding agreement, and we look forward to hearing more additional input. We always welcome input from the community, officers, and other stakeholders about possible ways to remedy the issues identified in the findings report. One way to provide input, as we mentioned earlier, is by emailing us at community.wpd@usdoj.gov. And another way to provide input will be in person. We're working on scheduling this, but we plan to hold an in-person meeting that will be more interactive and where there will be an opportunity to answer questions and also hear your ideas. And now I will turn it back to our United States Attorney, Josh Levy, to close us out.
Thank you very much, Michelle, and thank you to the entire team for the very hard work on this matter over the last couple of years. Last thanks is to all of you for joining us again tonight for your cooperation throughout our investigation. I know we put a lot of information out there tonight, and it's probably a lot to digest, but the report's available. We try to provide a high-level summary of what's in the report tonight. I will say we are confident in Interim Police Chief Saucier's ability to be a leader, to make necessary change at the Worcester Police Department. We applaud the efforts that he's made to date, and he's been a valuable partner in our work with the Worcester Police Department. And I think he's a good partner for sustainable reform. I want to also express my appreciation for the support of the folks who are on this phone. We had upwards of 90 people on this call. The remedial measures we discussed tonight are really just the starting point. We need to build on these foundations and create a comprehensive plan that will improve public safety and protect the rights of the people at Worcester. As we approach these matters, we are very interested in reaching a negotiated resolution. If possible, it puts into place sufficient protections to misconduct we identify. I think an agreement that best enhances our interest in constitutional effect policing that keeps us focused on solutions rather than litigation, which can often be costly and time consuming. When we first opened this investigation, we encouraged people to contact us to let us know about their experiences with the Worcester Police. Now that we've reached this stage and we've completed our investigation, we similarly want to hear from you about reforms that you'd like to see. So as Michelle said, we're going to create other opportunities for dialogue. Also you can reach out to us on the information provided at our phone number or email addresses to provide us information. Your ideas are really, really important in this process. So as I said at the beginning of the presentation tonight, we'll do further outreach in the coming weeks. And I want to thank you both for your time tonight, your commitment to the values that are embodied in this report. So that'll be it for tonight. And we look forward to continuing the conversation.
Thank you.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you, USA, Josh Levy. Thank you, my sir. He's my friend. Babes. Okay, let me get out of here because we know it's the leagues. All right. So let's talk. What do we think, babes? Oh my gosh, I lost myself. Guys, I was gone. I teleported. I went away with Josh Levy. Okay. Can you see me now? Is she back? Hi, lovies. Okay. So that was a lot, right? Like, that was really hard for us to listen to. And yet, not surprised, right? I want to be surprised, but I'm not. What do we think? I'm going to have to I'm going to have to get rid of this stream, or I'm going to have to get rid of the front part. But I don't understand how he can say don't record it, but it's a public meeting. And babes, at the height of the stream, they only had 90 people. 90 people. That's not good. So here's what I got. That they found, they went through hundreds of incidences and files, and they found a civil pattern and practice by the Worcester Police Department. And they found some issues with the conduct and long-standing pattern and practice. It is systemic, and it has caused harm to people of Worcester. They did say that they thought it was solvable, and that the DOJ is committed to working and being collaborative with the Worcester Police Department. Okay, I love it. But also, what are we doing? Why are we trying to be collaborative? I think we're past that, no? If you're telling me that the community, and Michelle Lewing, she told me that body-worn cameras were on, and yet they did and easily went to head strikes by the police. So like you're having somebody pulled over for a misdemeanor and something that is not escalated to a point where somebody should ever strike another person in the head. And then who do I think of? Officer John O'Keefe. But getting struck in the head is so dangerous, to be concussed, to have a TBI. You never know how it could go, or what you could cause in the force that you're, using. They had 500 incidences, 500 incidences between 2018 and 2022. Is your eye twitching? What are we doing? Then, additionally, there was a portion of these people who were behavioral health. They had disabilities. They had mental health crises. And you were using excessive force. Who does that remind us of? Just en route. Who else does that remind us of? Our baby Enrique Delgado Garcia. This is big, guys. This is really big, in my opinion. The supervisors did not make changes in the reports. Okay? They went through a wide array of information and found out that the Worcester police were sexually assaulting women in undercover stings. And that these women came forward with their stories, and this part just literally, I needed to black out, because I feel the feelings. I feel all the feelings all the time. But to think about the strength of these women who do not have many privileges, likely, in their lives. And that they still came forward so that it didn't happen to another woman. That's very brave. And they said that there was no benefit for those women. None. To tell their story. And if you had been in that system, right, and you have maybe been assaulted and raped and all the things, right, by police who are supposed to serve and protect you, I think it would be very scary to want to say anything to anybody ever. So I want to take a moment, guys, if we can, and just really thank those women. Thank you for having the courage and the strength, and that you are caring for the future and making a difference, and that you're putting your trust into another government agency and into the U.S. Attorney's Office and the DOJ. And may those rotten apples fucking rot in hell. You know? And that the police, they also said, engaged in years of sexual assaults in prostitution rings and stings. And that no one in a supervisory role stuck up for any women's rights. None. No supervisor. And now, you know, what am I going to go do? I got to go see if there's any ladies in the Worcester Police Department who are supervisors, because they know what's going on. I know it's a boys' club, but the girls, if you're moving up the ranks, you can't be blind to what's happening. And most of us, like, you know, you got a feeling of like, oh, this shit's going on. And I'm sad if there is ladies that are at the top. And then we heard that they preyed upon vulnerable women with substance use disorder, with history of, you know, mental health, mental illness, and that who had been in and out of the system. They told us that it raised serious concerns. And they wanted to know about not the police involved sexual assaults, but what are they doing with reports of community sexual assault? Do they investigate them? Are they taking reports? And then, of course, like the troubling statistics of 86% of our Hispanic brother and sisters who are being profiled, and 62% of our Black brothers and sisters who are being racially profiled, and that there was 3,000 misdemeanor violations between 2018 and 2022, and that there was excessive use, including force from dogs and dog bites, canine bites. Are we blacking out? With the sexual assault of the women, I only think Sandra. I think Sandra Birchmore. And now when I see the dog bites, I'm like, this just feels like we're in the upside down. They said that they do not supervise, and the supervisors are not knowing, or they didn't have the correct tools to tell their staff, don't use excessive force. Oh, you didn't know what to do? You didn't say stop beating the shit out of our community? You didn't say when you saw bruises and broken bones and bloody noses, and when you are seeing your community come into that precinct, like, something seems a little off here, no? And then finally, U.S. Levy says, we're trying to negotiate with the terrorists. No, he didn't say that. He said, we're trying to negotiate with the Worcester police so that we don't have to go through litigation. That's what I got, guys. What the shit? Hi, Suzanne. Hi, Lovey. It seems unfathomable that our dear Enrique Delgado Garcia fell victim to this criminal element. I know, babe. And Maya says, red flags. Maybe those female officers had to do special favors to get promoted. Maybe some of them were victimized by these supposed officers. If that is the case, then it needs to come to light. Maya, you are 110% correct. If that is that, right? Then absolutely. I hope I would have hoped that if they had known maybe what was going on with this investigation, that maybe they would have felt comfortable enough to tell an outside agency. But when it's your employment, who am I? I don't know how they would handle that. But they need assistance too, and help if that is something that is happening. Just south of history, hi Lovey. This just happened in the Kentucky sheriff case. The sheriff that shot the judge. Babe, tell me more about that. Was that with his daughter? Was it his daughter that the judge like had all her information in his phone? And then the sheriff walked in and was like, why do you have my daughter's phone number in your phone? And they knew something bad was happening. Whoop. That's what I thought it was. And Island Girl, you're so right. Where has personal integrity gone? I don't know, babe. Hi, Leanne. And Julie Kaylee says, I think they also said that they don't write up all the reports when they stop people. Babe, are we blacked out? Are we living in an alternate universe? Like, listen, you think that like, like, okay, remember when we were talking about the golden handshakes? You remember Mass State Police golden handshakes where someone was getting a CDL driver's license? And I was like, shady. But this is disgusting. This is unconscionable. This is shit you have seen about in a movie. Like it's not things that you would expect ever to be that in your face and have that much findings, and then to say it's a civil rights thing. So yeah, the people that maybe, okay, so what they're saying here is that these aren't criminal charges, but you said it was systemic. If I think about criminal, like if I think about systemic things in nursing, if you have an IJ tag, immediate jeopardy, that's systemic. IJ means you shut the fuck down. Okay, closed. No patients, no money, no nothing. Right? Because you have to fix what's going on, and then we can get you back up and running. But we're going to be talking about litigation and negotiation when you've raped, brutalized, racially profiled, systemically the community of Worcester? I don't know, Josh. I love you. But it doesn't, I know it has to go the way it has to go, but it feels wrong, right? I don't understand how it's not criminal. Me either, Maddie Wags. And Miss Jess, I get it. Clean it out. I know. Nope. Red Eye, Mr. Jackson. They are so close. You can't tell me they aren't going to crack down on Canton. I think, listen, babe, this makes me feel hopeful. I'll tell you that. Love Romy with Cheese says, this makes me want to make me put my teenage daughter in a bubble. If LEO aren't going to protect her when she's not home, who will? Babe, Romy, you know me. Romy, you know me. I got two. I got two of them. And like, I always try to say, like, I hope I've taught common sense, but that common sense isn't what happened to any of these people. That's a terrible, old school, idiotic thing to think, because I've been in situations where you're like, please God, let me get out of here. Can I please leave this alive? And whatever, most girls, 1 in 2 of us, have had unfortunate situations where bad things have happened, and then we blamed ourselves and said, oh, I should have known better. I shouldn't have done this. I shouldn't have done that. It was never our fault. Common sense can't get you out of a situation where you could be preyed upon by those who have sworn to protect and serve you. Stephanie, we can teach common sense, but their little brains aren't fully developed in their teens. You're absolutely right, babe. And that is, it's not fully formed till they're in their mid-20s. Jason Smith, thank you so much for the super chat, Lovey. It says, Kim, I have a couple of firsthand police corruption stories in the Worcester and surrounding areas. Very personal accounts. Jason, are you comfortable? If you want to talk about it, I would love to talk to you. And I'm here for you, and I support you in whatever you need. You know who this also reminds me of, babes? It's my Molly. It's our Molly. It's our Heather. Molly Bish. Worcester DA's office. Joe fucking Early. Being an absolute shitbag to Heather. Has been for the last 24 years. Not sharing new information. And Heather is fighting every day, advocating for others. Just an incredible human being. Boots on the ground, raise her children, working as an educator. She has a doctorate so that she could advocate effectively for her sister Molly, who was tragically killed, murdered at Warren Pond back in 2000. So it's just so sad. Suzanne says, early presser with Enrique's family makes me ill. That presser. Suzanne, listen to me. That is when I saw Mrs. Enrique Garcia, his mom, and I see her and I go, oh no. I felt every bit of the pain of standing there, I can't feel any of the pain of what happened to her child, but I see her and I immediately wanted to wrap her in my arms and bop a mofo in the head. I wanted to smash Early in the mouth when he's recounting a story about, oh, Enrique used to stay late in the office. He loved to help. He never wanted to stop. I'm like, Joe, read a room. No one gives a shit right this second. Do you have some information to share with his grieving family? Or are you actually the biggest piece of shit that's ever walked this earth? To drag them out before they've laid their son to rest? To stand next to you at a podium, you scumbag. Sorry. Oh, I remember. I remember, Suzanne. Gosh, it's horrifying. Maddie Wags, you did too. You know, I will tell you this. How proud are we? Let's do one good thing. We'll do it one good thing. But Brian from LTL Media, Brian got a, what is this? Oh my gosh, Kim, figure it out. What is this? A billboard. And it's an Enrique billboard. Today is 87 days. 87 days since September 13th, 2024, when the Delgado Garcia family had to take their son off of life support and say goodbye to their 25-year-old baby in peak physical condition at the end of his Mass State Police Training Academy, just a couple of weeks shy of the 90th RTT graduation. And we still don't even have an autopsy. What happened? What was that medical emergency? Because if it doesn't make sense, I swear to God, on all things good and holy, if the Delgado Garcia family need me to take a look at any records, I will do it for 20 years with them. I will do anything that they need, or if they would like, or if they need, or would like any help. I would fight to the end. I need to see what it says, because you're lying. You're not telling the truth. Giga Dog Bite says Giga Dog Bites, I'm obsessed with him. Look at that dog. Look at that handsome little meatball right there. Is that a cheese stick? What are you doing with that? You little fibber, you little freshie. Put that cheese stick down. I don't know what you're doing, but I love it. They say it was on video too. I wonder if the parents have been alleviated of their concerns by being shown what actually happened, or even being told what happened. Giga Dog Bites, I'm about to knock your socks off, babe. Guess what? They were shown a video. Guess what wasn't on that video? Enrique being incapacitated or being down on the ground. That would have resulted, nothing occurred that would result in their son being transferred to a hospital and put on life support immediately. Nothing in the alleged 8-minute video. Ooh. Miss Jess NB, she knows. I don't think they showed anything remotely accurate. And Maddie Wags, exactly. So many lies. They knew what was happening. Giga Dog Bites. It showed him in the ring. Showed him doing the drill. But it didn't show him being injured. He took hits, but he wasn't down on the mat. It wasn't like people, going and rendering medical aid to him. Because remember, it took 10 minutes for somebody to even call at 911. Diane Gallagher says, lie, then deny. I know, babe. Rob Geary. Rob Geary, are you potentially, do I have 3 men that watch my streams now? Rob, you're going to have to be 33%. It typically is 50%. I usually have 2 men. If you watch my streams, you're going to have 33% of the constituency. Bunch of Worcester cops getting blowies and then arresting the girl after that shit is nuts. Absolutely. And now what do we think immediately too? This wasn't just happening with people that they described in this specific situation and in this circumstance and in the meeting, the Zoom we were just in, the Teams meeting. We remember Ali Bebo. Shit's been going on. There's no way that Ali was like, hey, can you make this go away if I give you an HJ or a BJ or any of the J's? She knew damn right well. It's been going on for a long time. Oh, Mizzy's here. Mizzy, I don't see you. Hi. Hi, Mizzy. How are you, love? I'm sorry. I just am seeing that you came in. I'm thinking about Sandra right now because of these young women who have been really, really egregiously treated in Worcester, and that they came forward, Mizzy, to help the U.S. Attorney's Office and give them their stories with no benefit to themselves. And I think if Sandra had maybe made her decision and said, I want to talk to somebody about what you did to me, Matt, that I hope that they would have, listened to her, and it would have been no benefit to her. But that piece of shit, Farwell, still would have been up the river without a paddle for the rest of his life. Praise Jesus. Okay? Let's hope. Because she deserves to be here. Her baby deserves to be here. Happy, healthy, and away from abusive men. Get out of here, you sacks of shit. And Rosemary says the city will have to drag the police department kicking and screaming to a new culture. They don't want to change. I hope this city gets sued for civil rights violation. Well, Rosemary, I think they will. That's a very good assessment because the department, they're working on the negotiations instead of going the litigation route. But Josh Levy says that's on the table, babe. If they don't negotiate, which are we really going to negotiate much with these walking assholes? I don't know. But I just don't get how it's not criminal. Can somebody explain it to me? Do we have anyone, babes? How is it not criminal? Like if you're engaging in a prostitution ring and like soliciting when it's not legal. I'm not judging. If you're a sex worker and you enjoy it, do you, boo? If you're a sex worker and you don't enjoy it and you're trafficked, call 911. Call me. I don't even know. But these things are like the people who are participating in them. I don't get how the police engaging in that type of behavior is not an actual crime, because you would arrest somebody else that you found soliciting it. And then you had these years-long relationships. Come on. Oh, Mizzy. It is criminal. Karen Donahue, 06. Yeah, right? Oh, Anthony, I know. I don't know how they sleep at night. And it's the culture. And you know that love you. I forget who just said they're going to be kicking and screaming for a new culture. But like, here's the thing, babes. What do I always say? And I know that you're like, Kim, shut the fuck up. But I mean it. Like, if we keep replacing cogs in the wheel, It will continue. The system will continue. It doesn't matter removing one prick at a time, one corrupt fucker at a time. Because you know who moves up the ranks is the shithead he trained. And the guy who knew exactly how it needs to be run to keep the wheel in motion. Break the wheel. We need Daenerys Targaryen, first of her name. All right? We're breaker of chains and the wheel. We have to stop this, because if it isn't stopped, and if there isn't radical changes, I fear for our future. I fear for everything, guys. And I know that you've got no quit. I got no quit. We've got no quit. It takes a village, and we are that village, right? That will keep saying, no, we're awake. Rachel, amen. And Mizzy says to us, it absolutely is criminal. Sandra was trafficked. When does someone go down for that part? Amen. Amen, Mizzy. Divine. There's names, you know? Where's that part? Because that's federal too. And it says the upcoming, Diane Gallagher says the upcoming open hearings on the brothels in Boston, which required the Mass Supreme Court to rule the need for transparency in exposing the important Johns involved, will be another bomb going off. Babe. So Diane Gallagher, you might be onto something, and I know you are. You are onto something. I heard, okay, now, and again, disclaimer, I'm going to be JFK and James right now, guys, and it is alleged, but it has been reported widely that some of the people who were these Johns are huge names in Massachusetts and beyond politics. Political nightmare when we see who was on this list. Not even political, like also potentially big businesses, corporations that we know. Yeah. I wonder why they don't want this recorded, but put it on the internet. Rob, yeah, exactly. Quick question. They invited us all. I feel bad. I had like 200 people watching and they only had 89. I don't know how you invited all of us and said it's a public meeting and then said, no, you can listen. Don't share. I'll delete it. This is just a delete one, but well, the front. Oh. It's like that here in Chicago. It's on mainstream media. I know. Oh. See, okay, now quick question. Did that mean, because they did say the press. I'm not the press, right? I'm just the Kim. I wonder if I could keep it, unless he's angry. Land Pirate Radio. Hi, Adam. How are you, lovey? Look at your little land pirate. I love it. Oh, Taryn, and this is why you get paid all the big bucks, babe. Look at you. Make it members only. I feel like that might be a good choice as well. Here it is. Scott McGinnis, how are you, my friend? Epstein Island in Boston. Well, I'm just saying, babe, listen, do I know shit about shit? Never. But you know who does? Cully, our Dave, he gets weirdo inside shit. And I ask him, because I got like 5 emails. And I was like, what is this saying? Is this saying that like politicians are like Johns in this wicked high-priced brothel? And he was like, who told you that? And I was like, randos on the interwebs. And he goes, Kim, no, like, that's serious. And that there is like, that's assault. There's a lot going on there. And when we see the names, who's been to the island? We're going to be unwell. Suzanne, Dave does know too much. All right. Yes. And yeah, so that was basically, that's it, babes. Oh, I did want to say one other thing to you because this was heavy, right? We knew it was going to be heavy, but it was big doings. We needed to talk about it. We needed to feel each other's feelings. And we needed to be like, okay, cat's assault, meow. But actually, that's assault MSP right here. And fuck off. But with the duckies behind me today, we had justice for Rich today. It was incredible. I was so proud to see the judge make the decision that he did on the spot. Oh, when has that happened? Nothing that we see in specific counties. Norfolk. But it was like a really beautiful moment to see that the felony charges of witness intimidation by putting duckies within 2 football fields of a select board member's public business is not carrying a felony charge at this time, and that they could not go forward with probable cause. That was huge. That should make us feel like encouraged and excited to move forward and think to ourselves, okay, is the tide turning? Will there be a wake up of, yes, we want accountability, and that's on all fronts. If I do something wrong, accountability. If anyone does things actually wrong, accountability. But you're not going to let everybody else get off on all their bullshit that they have for decades and generational golden handshakes. Okay? And then you're going to say, oh, okay, but the regular people, us the people, we the little people, have to pay the price? I think this was a big moment. I think it was a big deal. And Rich he's a grandfather. He's a business owner. He is not like a menace to society. And you're trying to, I feel like when they talk about the emotional harm, I think you emotionally harmed Rich. Just in my humble opinion. Agreed. Oh, Mark Cunningham, how we doing? What are we doing? Oh, okay, Bukaki wasn't going there. We were talking about handshakes, my friend, not the showers. Thomas T says, oh my, have I had 5 males on this stream today? Mark Cunningham, Thomas T, Land Pirate Radio. I had a Geary, and I think I had somebody else. I think I had 5. Listen, boys, you're only going to have to be 15% of the constituency if this keeps up. Oh, and Anthony. Anthony P said that judge needs to take over Bev's place, or am I being too nice? Laughing my butt off. And hopefully he wouldn't do the same what Bev is doing. Absolutely agreed. Agreed. Oh, it's Scott McGinnis. Oh my gosh, we're making rapid improvements. The men have come, people. Let's clutch our pearls. They are here. Shall we send them away? We're not wearing our makeup. But men, please stay if you like. You're allowed. We will let you look, but you cannot touch, and everything must be consensual. And then we've got, oh, Broken Baker. This is it. This is it. I've got to sign off. This feels illegal. Number 7. That's it. I don't know. I don't know who I am. And nothing has been more true in my life, Land Pirate Radio. That's assault. We've got to go. All right, babes. Let's do something later. But I just wanted to talk about that. We had a positive, we had an upbeat, and we got to see anyone who was on this, you got to see. But now I've got to fight technology. I probably am going to have to call somebody to figure out how to get rid of the front. Or just put it to the members. May the force be with you and also with you. Okay, we lift up our hearts. It is right to give him thanks and praise. I love your face. Thank you for answering my FaceTimes, babes. And maybe we'll be back a little later, Gators. Bye, guys.